What is going on, everybody? Welcome in.
Everyone.
Thank you all for being here tonight. There's a lot of you in the chat tonight. So we'll shout you guys out in a little bit. But first, we got exciting guests tonight. We have Richie, founder and CEO of Boom Studios, who has won Diamond Comic Distributors Publisher of the Year 9 times. His new series, Berserker, created by Keanu Reeves, sold over 625,000 copies, becoming the biggest launch in comic shops in nearly 30 years. He's also executive producing the Disney Plus TV show, Just Beyond, currently in production in Atlanta, based on the best-selling Boom graphic novel series from Goosebumps creator R.L. Stine. Boom just launched a new Magic the Gathering series based on the billion-dollar franchise card game, which is going on sales in comic shops tomorrow, April 7th. Entitled Magic, it is the biggest selling Magic the Gathering comic series in 25 years. Everybody in the chat, give it up for Richie.
Hey!
We were hearing the applause from the chat that we did here, but
Echoing around the world.
Thank you, chat.
Welcome in. Very excited that you're here with us today. We both
thank you for having me.
Really love Boom books. As you can kind of tell from the background a little bit.
Thank you.
So tink you for taking time to be with us tonight.
We really appreciate
making
it.
Space for me. Thank you.
So we'll kick it off with just a little bit of background. Caroline, you want to start out?
Yeah, so just, I guess, tell us a little bit about yourself and your history working in comics, how you got into the industry and anything you feel is worthy of highlighting about anything before that.
Well, I grew up in Texas and I moved out to Los Angeles to work in the movie business. And thank you so much, Comics and Pops. Much appreciated.
I think you know him as Alonzo.
Thank you, Alonzo. And moved out to LA to work in the movie business and was a gopher running around. Thank you so much, Copy 801. And then I was living on my credit cards, kind of struggling, and I went to a convention and got into a conversation with somebody at a booth, and the folks that were at the booth worked for Malibu Comics, and Malibu published the Ultraverse for the 90s fans that are listening. And so they offered me a job, and I wasn't necessarily looking for a job, but I actually did need a job because I was a freelancer. And so I took that, and that was a magical time period where I worked in the marketing department, and I worked on amazing creators books. Jim Starlin, who you'd know, the creator of Thanos, worked with him on Breed and for the Bravura line, and George Perez and Barry Windsor Smith, and just a murderer's row of incredible talents.
Yeah.
Walter Simonson. So it was a tremendous experience, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Danny May. Much appreciated. And it was a lot of fun. And then Marvel bought the company, and I decided that I was going to transition out and get back to why I was in Los Angeles, which was to work in the movie business. And I went to work as a script reader and worked ultimately for Arnold Schwarzenegger's agent, reading a lot of material for Arnold. But I kept in touch with all my friends in comics.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call from my buddy Keith Giffen, and he said, I'm going to do a series at Image. It's called Dominion, and I'm going to draw it, and you're going to write it. And I said, Keith, you're very generous, but I'm not a writer. And Keith said, you're going to write this series, and I'm going to draw it. And I said, Keith, you're great, you're awesome, but I really don't know how to write anything. And Keith's like, you're going to do this.
Don't worry about it.
So
You've got this.
Yeah, I did not, but I told Keith that the deal was that he would rewrite me because Keith's a very talented writer. And so if I sucked, which I did, that he could go in and change it and rewrite the dialogue, or he actually resequenced some pages as well. and I would not be offended. So we did that comic, and then the guy that inked the second issue is Dave Elliott, who had an old publishing outfit called Atomica, which was spelled Atoneka. And yes, you always got to spell it out. And so back in the late 80s, Atomica published people like Alan Moore and Grant Morrison and Garth Ennis. And so he was looking to revive Atomica, and I helped him do that. And while I was doing it, I worked with Keith Giffen again, doing a new series called Hero Squared. And Keith really talked me into starting Boom. Keith was like, you're good at comic book publishing, and you ought to do this. And we went to a little dive bar in LA, and he just kept giving me beer. It's a true story.
That's how good ideas are formed.
Well, I just was 100% sure that there was no way. And, the thing about it is when you sit there and you wake up the next day and you think, one of your heroes, that's who Keith was to me, writer, artist. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember just buying so many of his comics off the rack and having my mind blown. And, when I was a kid and when I was a teenager, and, to have one of your heroes come to you and basically be like, try to get you drunk so that you'll say yes to starting a publishing company. I mean, it makes you think.
Yeah.
It made me think. I thought, okay.
A publishing company.
Well, I figured I'd roll the dice and we'll see where it goes. And,
Absolutely.
Keith, every time I see him, I catch him every once in a while at the Baltimore Comic Con. And every time I see him, I just thank him profusely because he changed my life. So
it's awesome story leading up to what's now one of our favorite publishing companies around.
Thank you.
And we have an LCS in Alaska here.
Thank you, Amy.
Alaska.
Thank you, Amy.
Really
so appreciate
what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
And so many people throwing out some love to Ross Richie here.
Thank you.
It's hard to highlight them all, but thank you guys for hanging out in the chat. Really appreciate you guys being here. in response to the good ideas in drinking.
Gotcha. Yes. The remembering of the good ideas is the key.
But it looks like you remembered and brought about Boom. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think I was just scared. And I know that sounds like a funny retort, but it's true. So
understandable though. I mean, it's a big task to take on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, my joke with Keith was, I knew that people would buy Keith's work. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll start the publishing company, but your problem is you have to make time in your schedule. And you've got to make, so like the first 6 Boom books, they're all like Keith Giffen. It's like, I remember some retailers at the first Diamond Summits going like, what's going on with Keith Giffen in your company? And I'm like, I'm just getting everything I can from him, please.
He just wants to put out all the books.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's more like I'm desperately clinging to his coattails to try to, do something. So I will forever be grateful.
So speaking of challenges, we recently, and still going on, have the pandemic. What did that do with your distribution plans and with, planned comics that were supposed to be coming out in that time period?
Well, when the pandemic hit, it's hard to go back. I would really invite everybody to go back and remember how little we knew. Mm-hmm. And the information changed day to day, and it was really frightening. And I remember really vividly being on the phone on a Sunday with Diamond, which is very hard to do because they work Monday through Friday. And knowing that tomorrow they were going to shut down distribution. And for us, I worry about the staff. I think about if I was an entry-level person that had just been hired and a quarantine's going on and, I have precarious financials. And if I was let go, and I was let go into a job market like the quarantine job market.
Yeah.
So, I think we're the only company that didn't let anybody go.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
And it was not fun. It was pretty frightening. And I just felt like we needed to hold on to everybody. And I felt like if I was a freelancer and I was a writer and an artist, that, if the pages slowed, or the paying of page rates and paying people, if that slowed down, it's really going to hurt your household. And these are situations that none of these people asked for, didn't control, didn't have a hand in. And so we just kept everybody rolling. And it was a huge gamble and was very expensive. But I felt like it was the right thing to do. And then once Diamond resumed distribution, one of the things that had happened, and I think this was from a lot of retailer input, retailers were worried about fans coming back. And so retailers were telling the big two, hey, don't ship a lot of product. And so they, like DC, for instance, took about a month's worth of product and spread it out over 2 months. And then Marvel stopped sending product into the channel. And then they slowly, I don't know if you remember, they went through this phase where it was like they were doing singles 1 week and then trades the next, and singles 1 week. But it was a very slow rollout. And I think Marvel and DC are to be commended because they were listening to what the retailers were saying. And there was disruption that was happening in the distribution channel as DC left Diamond.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of uncertainty during that time period as well. But I really encourage the senior part of our team to go to the comic shop every week, because I don't think that there's anything that gives you a better sense. It's hard when you get older and you're married and you got kids, but making it a priority to get in there and see what's going on. And so, I wanted to see if fans were coming back. And I think what was so incredible that happened is that these stores, they're a pub. It's like, I don't know if you're familiar with Starbucks considers itself the third place, is what they call it. Is philosophically, there's home, there's work, and then there's the third place. Now, typically in Europe, you'll see in like England, it's the pub, right? So it's like you work your day, you go to the pub with your buddies, meet people, and then you go home. And I think that's what comic shops are. We all love this culture. Your shirt, your Coexist shirt is a great example. It has a bunch of references on it that like only a nerd would know what a Star Trek phaser looks like, or a TARDIS, or fill in the blank. And you can share these cultural experiences. And like my wife, she's written, episodes of The Tick, and she's a big nerd, but she does not want to talk about what's going on in the Hulk. Like she's not, if I read a Donny Cates comic and get excited, she does not care. And she's not reading it. And, but in the shop, everybody knows what you're talking about. And so fans really rallied around the stores during this time period. And what I saw when I went to my shop is I saw that all these fans want to buy things and there's nothing to buy. And so we were shipping product into the channel, but we knew that we had this very exciting project in our pocket, which was we had Wynd from James Tynion and Michael Diolinus. And so it was a graphic novel that was scheduled to come out in November. And so I called up James. Thank you.
It's one of my favorites. I love it.
The cover,
I have questions about it for later.
Oh,
yeah,
I
the cover
answers.
for the next one's behind her.
Oh, nice.
Kind of see it peeking out there.
I love it. So what I did was I called James up and I said, hey, what if we serialize this comic? What do you think? Which it wasn't written to be serialized. And so that's an important question, which is, as a creator, are you open to it? Because he wrote it to be a slow burn. And so ultimately he had to go in and write and draw some new pages to make it work. But James was up for the crazy experiment of let's take Wynd and serialize it. But what was funny was, as I talked to Philip Sablik, who was our president of publishing, he said, you can't do this. Now, if you're ever interested in getting me to do something, you should tell me that I can't do it. So that's just a personality flaw that I have.
So you can't tell us any news about Something's Killing the Children being optioned.
Oh, I can't, can I? See how I fell into your Bond-like plan, Bond villain plan.
So it's actually funny, and someone brought this up in the chat, is this happened with Origins too, but maybe in a different way?
Yeah, no. Right. Well, Origins is that. Last Witch is that.
I am loving Last Witch.
Thank you. That's a favorite.
My little Irish self over here is all giddy about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I love Last Witch, but please don't ask me to pronounce any of those names.
Yeah, no, they're
we
fun.
were just talking about the one that's in the next issue, BADB.
Exactly. Yes. You are correct.
BADB. That's how I'm pronouncing it.
All right. I'll go with that. To go back to Wynd. So Philip says, you can't do that, and I was like, why? And he said, well, you collate your information, you email it to Diamond for previous catalog. They collate all that information. They go through it. They have to typeset it. They have to proofread it. They have to design the damn thing. They have to send it to the printer. They got to print the damn book. They got to ship it out to everybody. They got to give everybody a 30-day order window. And then they got to collate. And by the way, this is nuts. I don't think y'all recognize or register this. They still send out paper order forms with that thing. Wow. So there's a bunch of retailers that still fill their paper order form out and then send it back to Diamond. And then Diamond has to take all those paper order forms and they got to read the handwriting, right? So this is a complicated process, right? And Philip said there's not enough time. And I said, what if we just go straight to final order cutoff and we just skip the previews catalog? And it became the very first comic book that skipped the Diamond previews catalog. We went straight to final order cutoff. And, we expected Diamond to have resistance to that. And to their credit, they supported us. I mean, I think they thought, well, if you want to jump off the top of this skyscraper and you think you can figure out how to fly on the way down, well, then good luck, right? Which is nobody that ever skipped the Diamond previews catalog. But we basically had 5 days to tell everybody that it existed.
Wow.
Now, Punchline, I think, helped us some. So people were excited about James Tynan and we're paying attention to Punchline. And Wynd was in that cycle of conversation, but it became our best-selling original. And then we released 7 Secrets after that, which broke that sales record. And then We Only Find Them When They're Dead broke that sales record. And then now Berserker's broken all sales records. So
just keep going and going.
This book actually holds a very special place in my heart. This was the first comic book I actually ever picked up in a single.
Whoa!
I started reading during the pandemic because I was like, I need something to do. I need a way to fill my time. And my friend was like, I'm going to take you to a comic shop. And I'm just going to let you loose, and I'm never going to see you again, basically.
That's amazing. That's incredible.
And so I picked up a couple of trades, and then I was looking at them, and I was like, I'm going to read this one. And I picked it up, and I'm obsessed with it.
Thank you for picking that. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Well, Al Ewing is going to absolutely love hearing this.
Yeah.
And Simone.
I can't wait for the next volume.
I feel like that's probably the series that we started talking about first. And like, we didn't know each other before. We're just talking on Instagram. Became friends.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
It's a good series.
It's great. Everyone go read it. The trade's out. Go pick it up.
I don't know if you have an answer to this question, but we have a
We'll do them by Valiant so we can make Valiant great again. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm friends with Fred and those guys over at Valiant. So I think they're doing just fine. I don't think they need any help from Boom. And so I think the short answer to that is no, there are no plans to do that. So I wish the Valiant folks the best. They're buddies. So I hope they do well. Thank you so much, Big Herm.
I don't think I've seen Big Herm before. So if you're new here, please welcome, subscribe, hang out. ask questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
One other question before we get to talking about
Marvel leaving Diamond for Penguin Random House. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts with Boom using Diamond, or would a change be considered even though Diamond struck the deal with Penguin? All right, Amy. So this is our retailer. And so we are in an exclusive relationship with Diamond. So if I wanted to hit the button and change distribution to Penguin Random House, I could not, even if I wanted to. So that should give you
makes sense.
Yeah. So this is we will not be changing to Penguin Random House tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean that came out
no
of
crazy
nowhere.
surprise moves.
At least from the, I guess, the reader side, it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the thing to keep in mind, and I think this is a life lesson that I would just, sort of give out is, when you see when things get chaotic, change begets change, right? So, when the first thing, when DC changed their distribution from Diamond, the first thing I thought was Marvel was next. I was just surprised that it took so long.
Yeah.
Because people just get light bulbs. You can just see light bulbs popping off. Because I don't, I haven't talked to my friends over at Marvel, but I can only imagine they were like, "Wait a minute!
If you're gonna do it, we're gonna do it.
You don't get to leave Diamond. We're gonna leave Diamond, right?
We gotta do it too." More Boom love in the chat.
Thank you, Comics Talk Weekly. Thank you.
So let's we'll move on to some of our other planned questions.
Right.
Love the interaction. Chat's throwing out love for Boom and questions, so I appreciate it.
I'm gonna have to flip it around and find out before we're done why Sparks, but we'll get to that at the end.
It actually is a pretty simple answer.
Yeah. Why? All right.
So when you guys are considering publishing a book, what do you look for? Is it, you want to work with artists and creators you're already working with? Do you seek out new writers? I know submissions can be kind of iffy because of content and like getting sued.
I don't like getting sued. Getting sued sucks.
It doesn't seem fun.
Well, it's like Kieran Gillen is somebody that we talked to pretty extensively about doing a project with. And, James Tynan's a good example of I did an interview on my channel on YouTube with James, and he tells the story that Matt Gagnon, my editor-in-chief, and he and I tracked James down back when James was doing Talon. He had just done his co-writing on Batman, and he was still very early in his career, maybe a year, maybe 2 years in. And we tracked him down at the pub at C2E2 and went and had a drink and talked about my editor-in-chief, Matt Gagnon, was really interested in doing teenage heroes. And Talon, of course, was a teenage hero. And it just so happened that Tynan had a pitch for The Woods in his pocket. And so that was very much an aligning of situations. But the thing, the sort of the thing that, yes, thank you.
Thank you. Still working on reading.
Oh yeah, well you've got to read it and tell me what you think, because I'm super proud of that. I really am proud of that series.
I'm very excited to read it.
Good, thank you for checking it out. But the thing I tell a lot of creators that are breaking in, that are trying to hit me up and say, hey, I've never written a comic book before, and the analogy, I want you to publish me, right? And so the analogy is like, and forgive, this is an inelegant analogy, so just roll with me, but I think you'll get the idea. It's like you buy a ticket to an NBA game, you go to the bleachers and you sit in the bleachers, and at halftime you go down to the coach and you say, put me in, I want to play basketball, right? It's like my team has Kieran Gillen, James Tynan, Al Ewing, Tom Taylor. I mean, these guys are just absolute monsters, right?
Yeah.
forget Keanu Reeves. We got Matt Kent, right?
Yep.
And it's like, and we don't have infinite bandwidth because publishing a comic book is expensive. You have to pay people to write it. You have to pay people to draw it. You have to pay people to print it. You have to do marketing costs. And so it's very hard to, like, if you're Keanu Reeves, your first comic book might be at Boom, right? But he's had a 30-year career to establish who he is. And so
people might just buy it for Keanu.
Some people might. Yes, it's true. And so it's very hard to break in there. And so I think that the thing that we're looking for is we're looking out into what's being published in the space. Like, this is a good segue to talk about Jed McKay, because Jed is the writer on the Magic comic that comes out tomorrow, the Magic the Gathering comic. And I had been reading his Black Cat, and I had been saying to other folks, like editorially, I'm like, this Jed guy's really, really good. I was giving Black Cat to our editor-in-chief, and I was like, we really need to be looking at him. He's super talented. And, you know, from a breaking in perspective, it's hard to be having to compete for slots with Marvel and DC writers. And so the advice that I give to people that want to break into comics, you know, to me, the pathway to break into comics is very clear. And this is what I would do. And your mileage may vary, and people can criticize this approach. Okay, this is just, I'm just a guy. Okay. But if I wanted to write comics today, what I would do is I would go on to, I'd find a Reddit. There's a million of them. There's got to be one. And it would be, I'd find an artist and I'd pitch him my idea, and I'd make it a 20-page story, because 20 pages it's a typical comic book length. Okay. But it's not this infinite. Everybody wants to do, you know, the first sign of a rookie is they're like, I have a science fiction epic and it's 12 issues long. It's like, you'll understand how much work 12 issues is. It's an insane amount of work. Like, start small. Okay. 20 pages. You know, your artist is a Starbucks barista, probably, right? They have a day job. Okay. So they're going to have to put the pages in at night. So they're not going to be able to do a page a day. So maybe they do a page or two a week, right? 20 pages, 6 months worth of work. Okay. Then kickstart it. And when you kickstart it, you need to kickstart it for the least amount of money, right? This is you're not trying to make money. What you're trying to do,
basically,
cover the costs.
I might even be like, cover half my costs, because what I want to do is I want to have a thing. Don't set yourself up for failure. Set yourself up to win, right? When you go to the weight room, you don't go on the first day and go, I'm going to go lift 300 pounds. You're like, well, let's start small, right? And let's just wake up sore tomorrow, right? And then we'll worry about, you know, changing the world later. And so I would kickstart, 20 pages. You know, the process of working with an artist is hard. The process of getting a letterer, the process of coloring, the process of printing it, you know, go through that process, do that. Okay, fulfill it to your backers. That's hard. Okay, get it digitally to the people that said yes. That's hard, right? Handle all the customer service problems. That's hard. Okay, then go do it again, right? And then go do it again. Okay, well, you just did 60 pages of comics. Okay, you get better at it. Okay, you figure it out, and now you have a body of work. And, you know, I've seen writers do this where, I'll tell you a secret. All right, so here you go. Sparks Comics exclusive. Here's a secret. Okay. So I've seen a writer who kickstarted their own 20-page story doing exactly what I'm laying out. Okay. At the end of a Boom panel that I was not on, I was not participating. Okay. My editor-in-chief got up, started to walk out of the panel, and the writer said, hey, I don't want to bug you, okay, but I did this comic. It's self-contained, and I'd just like to give you a copy.
Nice.
Okay, so there's your Kickstarter comic. You hand it to the editor-in-chief. You know what he did? He went to the airport, and on the way to the airport, he went through this huge pile of crap that people give him. Okay. And here's the 20-page story, right? You can read that quickly.
Yeah.
And he read it and it was good. And he took it and he put it on my desk and we hired that guy.
Nice.
So that's how you break in.
Are you able to say who that guy was?
Nope.
Okay. That's all right. It'd be, I guess that's their story to tell then, right?
Well, but it's immaterial, right?
Yeah.
It's I'm telling you, not only is it a theoretical strategy that I would deploy, strategically,
It
right?
worked.
But someone actually did it, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so,
Nice.
and I'll tell you, you look at there's a bunch of somebody that's a great person to follow that's writing a Power Rangers book for us is Frank Golgo, who a creator of Dead End Kids, and he's on Twitter all the time telling people how to break in.
Yeah.
There if you pay attention and if you look and if you are sincere and you're scholarly and you do your research, all the resources you need are there. Don't wait for anybody's permission to do anything. Go do it. It's all there.
Have you seen, kind of, since we aren't having cons during this time, have you seen less people trying to make those types of moves to get you guys to look at their work, or do you feel like you've gotten more of that with people digitally sending?
Well, I have on our website we can't accept unsolicited submissions.
Yeah.
And so that hasn't changed. But the thing is I've really raised my digital profile during quarantine. And so I've just gotten overloaded with it. The classic thing is, somebody sends me 10 pages of a comic, 1 page at a time through DMs. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Right. And so protocol is important. Asking is an important quality professionally to develop. So I've been inundated with submissions. And so I've got to figure out how to deal with it. I've been dealing with it more on a one-on-one basis. I got to figure out a way to deal with it more efficiently.
I remember you doing an Instagram video, probably October or somewhere around there, where you addressed, please don't send us submissions. This is what, and I think you showed throwing one out.
It was so heartbreaking. We have to talk about it. So someone had printed this super elaborate submission. I mean, it was gorgeous.
It was.
Like, it was expensive. Like, I can't even imagine that packet. If you'd have told me they spent $60 on that packet and had made, 60 of them, I wouldn't be surprised. It was heartbreaking how beautiful it was. And so for those that don't know, I made this video of, I have this beautiful presentation and I open the package that has it. And I'm basically like, I have to put this in the recycling bin and I can't look at it. Because if there's an idea that's in here that is any similarity to what we're publishing, I open us up to a lawsuit. So I cannot look at unsolicited material. And thankfully, the guy that generated that packet, he found the video and he was so gracious. He was like, oh, I didn't know. And I'm really sorry. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, sort of expose you to that stuff. And he was great about it, but it just broke my heart because, so much work had been put into it. And, it did not reflect on the work and it didn't reflect on the people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we'll change gears here. I know this was something that you wanted to talk about, and we've got a question in the chat.
Did Ross answer the question? What made them do what they did?
What did you do?
What made them do what they did?
Joker, what are you saying they did?
Joker's joking with me. Wait a minute. Does that make me Batman? Okay. That would be nice if that made me Batman. It'd be nice if that's all that I would need to do is to take this sad middle-aged frame and just be talked to by a Joker in chat, and then suddenly I'm Batman. So here was the plan with Berserker and Something is Killing Children. So one of the things I really want to kind of connect with y'all about, like, we'll back up for a second. So I'm going to use a lot of hearsay, and I'm going to use a lot of approximations. So if people want to take me to task in the comments, I'm leaving myself wide open for it. Okay. But I'll just tell you what I know. Okay. So crossover from Image Comics. Oh, nice. Yeah, you're right, Lewis. Lewis, you're a talented sculptor. Thanks for the work that you do. I appreciate you putting your sculpts of Something is Killing the Children up on Instagram. Basically what, so if you look at crossover #1 from Donny Cates and Image Comics, it's a great book, which I thoroughly enjoy and I buy and I read. That is the biggest selling original creator-owned comic book at 150,000 copies. Okay, since Danger Girl from 1998.
Wow.
So we're talking about in 23 years, that outsold Saga, that outsold Walking Dead.
That's
okay. That book's huge. Okay.
Yeah.
So just for a sense of scope, how enormous this is. Okay. Berserker #2 sold more than crossover. So our second issue sold more than crossover #1. Okay. Wow. So that's how many copies of Berserker are out there. I mean, you guys don't understand that I get nervous. Okay. There are so many copies in the channel. Like, I want people to buy them, to read them, to take them home. Right. And I'm scared there's going to be boxes of Berserker in the back room of the comic shop for like the next 30 years. Right. That's not the purpose. The purpose isn't to like have retailers, fashioning furniture out of how many copies of Berserker they bought. The idea is for people to get them in people's hands. Right. Yeah. And we're getting a lot of anecdotal feedback from retailers that what y'all don't see, we put a lot of money into digital. So we're going on to Facebook and we're finding people that they liked Keanu Reeves and they liked comics, right? And then we're putting a lot of ads against them, okay? To say, hey, go to your local comic shop. And we're targeting it and we're doing it near the boom retailer stores because we know that they'll have the copies, okay? And so we're trying to push people who have not read comics, who are Keanu Reeves fans, into stores. And we're getting anecdotal feedback. We don't have any scientific ability. We don't have the ability to hire a focus group or do any of that kind of official corporate marketing research. But that's our focus, okay? So there's a ton of copies of Berserker #2 that have been ordered. And we're trying to focus on sell-through, okay? And one of the things is that first issue of Berserker being the highest. Now, let's just be clear here. Berserker #1 is not the highest ordered creator-owned comic of the past 30 years, nearly 30 years. It is the best-selling comic book of the past. So it sold more than Star Wars #1 from 2015. We think. We don't know. It's hard to tell. Okay. But we think.
That's amazing.
Okay? Right. And again, that's terrifying to me. Okay. Yeah. Oh, we did a giveaway for the 1 in 1,000 to get the word out on our shop. Having the Keanu angle really helped. Thank you, Amy. Thank you. Thanks for ordering the 1 in 1,000. Thanks for doing the giveaway.
I love having that shop perspective sometimes in these types of chats.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. Retailer feedback is essential. Absolutely essential. And so here we have all these books that went in. Okay. And we know that there's people coming in and they don't know anything about reading monthly comics at all. There's no pattern that you have in consumer behavior. You don't go to watch movies monthly, right? You don't read novels monthly. Okay. You don't watch TV shows monthly. Okay. There's no consumer pattern to just lock you in. We're these weirdos. And, the three of us, we go in weekly, right? So forget trying to persuade somebody to go in weekly, right? It's like, well, I came in for this Keanu comic. Great. I have this first issue, right? And so it's like, what will get you to come back? Well, here's a little trick from the real world. The real world is a gift with purchase, right?
Free stuff.
Hey,
Yeah.
Free stuff. Exactly.
Get your free stuff.
If you come to buy Berserker #2, you get this other comic book for free. So we sat down and we went, okay, well, what do we have that there's a high likelihood that if you read Berserker, you would like this other thing? Berserker's super bloody. Something is killing the children. It's pretty dark. Right. Right. And so we go, well, this audience isn't going to be one-to-one, but it's got a high likelihood of crossover. Much better than, let's say, Seven Secrets, which is one of my favorites. I love it. Or We Only Find Them is not nearly similar to Berserker at all. Excellent series. But so that was the strategy. And then what we did was we looked at the stupid amount, and which I am only thankful and grateful for, but the insane number of copies of #2 that were in the channel were like, if you took #2 alone, is probably the best-selling creator-owned comic of the past 23 years. Okay, right. And so you go, okay, well, we can't ship one-to-one. That's crazy. We're just
all your profit gone.
Right. And so what we did was we said a 1-to-3 ratio, because we knew the print runs. And we know all the previous print runs of Something is Killing the Children. And so we know what the size of audience is. And so we were like, a 1-to-3 ratio makes sense. So, basically I'm talking about 50,000 copies, right? Like 50,000 copies is still a crap ton of copies.
Yeah.
Okay? Still a lot of copies. And in any other market would make that, #1 creator-owned comic of the month. Okay. So, but, everybody freaked out and they misunderstood this as some sort of a sales incentive, where it was about chasing the Something is Killing the Children comic. And the thing is what we're ultimately doing is we're doing a 1 for every 2 copies. So the print run's going to go up to 75,000 copies. Okay. But the thing that I would really, really counsel your audience with is there's so many people that are going into the comments on my Instagram and they're like, I'm buying 10 copies and I'm going to get that. And it's like, okay, first of all, I understand, first of all, I am thankful for the fandom. I am able to pay a house mortgage because of people caring about our comics. So I'm nothing but grateful you feed my children. Thank you. And I understand that the history on Something is Killing the Children is the subsequent printings become very collectible and people pay a premium for them. But the thing is this printing is going to be ubiquitous. It's going to be everywhere. Okay. And it's designed to be a recruitment tool to get people that have never read Something is Killing the Children to read it. So don't hoard it, because it's a free comic. And could you maybe flip it for $5? Okay, maybe. It feels like to me a lot of work for $5. I'm not criticizing anybody that does that. Okay. It's not going to be worth $50. I'll tell you that. Okay. I've been in I bought my first back issue in 1982. Okay. It's not going to be worth $50. Okay. So let's tamp down on I love the frenzy. I'm really appreciative of it. Again, I'm only thankful. I remember when people didn't care about Boom Books. I remember when I would stand at a convention booth and people would actively try to get away from me. So I'm nothing but happy and thankful for people's enthusiasm. But hoarding this and using it like a back issue play is not going to pay off for those folks. And it's antithetical to what the idea is. The idea is this is a recruitment tool for you as a fan to use in your shop to get other people to read it and support it and bring more fans into Something is Killing the Children and make the fandom bigger. And make the phenomenon bigger and have more people love what you love so that you can share in the experience.
Make the chances of a movie or TV show bigger.
Exactly.
It could happen. I see what you're doing, Caroline. You feed my children. That sounds like a future Boom title. I love it, Lewis. I love it.
Then the ask your other question.
Hey, Joker, I'm happy to do it. Happy to answer your question. I hope that makes some sense. And I know that there's a lot of good folks coming at this, and we have some misunderstandings. And so I'm happy to try to unspool what the misunderstandings are. and give some context to what's going on. And hopefully when April 28th runs around, we can get a lot more people to read Something is Killing Children.
Absolutely. Bring them into the fandom.
Right.
Speaking of fandoms, we got Magic the Gathering tomorrow.
It's pretty exciting. Okay, so
tell us the story of how you guys got that.
How'd you acquire that?
Well.
You can tell us of that story.
Yep. Well, the thing to remember is that that is owned by Hasbro.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And the Hasbro bought Saban. And Saban were the folks that owned Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so we had started to work with Hasbro because they were the new owners of the Power Rangers. And we got along really well, and they really enjoyed what we were doing on Power Rangers. And so the Wizards of the Coast team that did Magic the Gathering, they have, or owns and manages Magic the Gathering through Hasbro. They have had 3 previous publishers for the comics. The original publisher was Valiant back in the 90s, and then it went to Dark Horse for a while, and then most recently it's been at IDW. And so they wrapped up their relationship with IDW, and some time went by, and they inquired through Hasbro and said, hey, Hasbro, have you talked to Boom about doing the Magic comics? And so Hasbro brought the opportunity to us. And so we sort of had a discussion with them about what we wanted to do, what we saw the potential was, and was this the kind of story that they wanted to tell, and was it the kind of thing that they wanted to do? Because I think we had a very specific approach that we wanted to pursue. Mm-hmm. And that resonated, and then we made the funny books. Oh, hell yeah, a huge fan of Magic.
I played the card games with my brother. So I'm very curious. I played the cards as a kid with my brother. Oh. We would collect them and play it. So I'm ready to get into it.
I missed the whole card playing side of this, but mm-hmm. When the Ashcan came out, mm-hmm. my store gave me that to put it in my box, actually. And I was like, all right, I'm going to check this out because I know nothing about Magic. And
amazing.
I was sold. Like, I didn't need to know anything about the cards to dive into the world of Magic.
That's great to hear.
It's so set up very well at the beginning that introduces you to the world. You get introduced to the different characters that seem to be playing the big role in the story. And I didn't feel like I was like outsider trying to find my way into the world. I felt like it introduced itself. So
terrific. That's great to hear.
Did that Ashcan, but that's not something you guys usually do, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think part of the thought process was exactly what you outlined, which was that I think our approach with doing the story was totally different than what had been done previously. And so part of it was to show retailers that we're doing something utterly different, and then give people an opportunity to see that the proof was in the pudding, because we were happy with it and we believed in it. And we just didn't know if the market would respond. I mean, to explain on a size basis, I'm going to sound like a stinking broken record, so I'm sorry. That's the best-selling Magic comic it could be of all time. It is definitely at least of the past 25 years. I think the records go back to 1996. Nice. And so that is it. I mean, it's like 8 times the sales level of the last Magic series that was published. And so what we were trying to do was to go, we get this stuff over here. This is cool. The Valiant series, the Dark Horse series, the IDW series, all that stuff's great. We're not here to smack talk any of that. But we want to do this thing over here. And sort of the setup of that first issue is to get in deep with big-time planeswalkers and tell a story that's got very high stakes, that's a real sort of crisis level threat that's happening, and make it exciting, like turn the volume up to 11 first rattle out of the box. And that was really the pitch that we had with Wizards of the Coast from the beginning with what we wanted to do. And they were great and responsive to that. And so we've just sort of had this vision for it, pursued that. Wizards was in, they've been great. And then, sort of you don't know if fans are going to be interested. You don't know if somebody who doesn't know Magic can get into it. And it's great to hear that you did. But it was like how to show retailers what you have. And so we just thought that the simplest and best way to do that would be to just publish it and then ship it to them for free. And then we'll see where the orders come out. And they blew through the roof, which we're amazed by.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy's been hyping it up for our little squad.
Yeah, after I read the Ashcan, and I did a little review on it on the channel, and then I'm like, all right, I'm into this.
Thank you.
The one interesting thing also with that was there was this Magic pack, which was several covers.
Yes.
That seemed like another unique idea to try to promote this comic. Is that specifically for this, or are you guys going to try to do that for other comics in the future?
Well, we've done that format previously for it's been a minute. We did it for regular show. When we did the Cartoon Network show. And so, we did it again for Magic, and that sort of thing has been done. Tip of the hat to IDW. I think they're the ones that maybe like 10 years ago really authored that format. Because part of it is sort of like for many fans, like for regular show, I think this is a good example of like the fandom is maybe not as savvy about the different variants. And so part of the idea is you want one thing. So like a fan can go in that loves something and it's collectible to them. Mm-hmm. And they can just get one thing and it's got a lot in it, right? And an exclusive item. And then that way it's special, right? And it's like, I can just buy this box and like, I'm not a comic book guy, but like I play Magic and I can just buy this box and then I don't have to think about it, right? Like I have the box with all the stuff in it. And then I can get into it and my fandom can grow and I can learn.
So I do have a question from someone on Instagram,
right.
Justin No Good Comics, who was in earlier, but he's doing his own show. So he wanted me to ask you. He noticed that some of the variants are hidden in poly bags, and he wants to know if those are random, or do you know which one the Liliana one is? Because I said I don't, and I would ask you for him.
Yeah, they're obscured in their bags so that it is a blind bag. So they
are random within the spoiler variants.
Yes, but there's three different
Planeswalker covers.
Yes. Yeah, there are three different Planeswalker.
You gotta buy them all.
And then if you want the Mirka and Dolfo cover, that's only in the pack.
That's right. Yep. Mirka's a genius. We love Mirka.
I love her work.
She's a genius.
We got one of her covers there for Spectre Inspectors.
Thank you for the Spectre Inspector love.
It's a great series.
There's another genius, Jenny Frison, I can see behind you as well.
Yes, all the Jenny Frison love.
Over there. Justine Franny over there on the Once and Future.
She's one of my favorites.
Just Franny.
If you want to get her to do something for We Only Find Them, you would get all my money for that.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to it, Carolina. I'm gonna get your I'm gonna get your credit card.
Hand it over.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Any other questions from the chat?
So I told you earlier I had questions. My question about Wynd is basically, tell me everything you can tell me that you're allowed to tell me because I love this book. I want all of it, and I want so much more of it.
Ooh. Well, I'll tell you something that is dirty pool and is not fair, but it's out there on the internet. So this is not exclusive to Sparks Comics. But James Tynan has a newsletter. And in his newsletter, he is talking to people about Wynd outside of comics. I didn't say that.
James I heard a rumor about a thing a while ago.
So that's James has talked about it more than once in his newsletter. So I will leave that right there, and I will walk away.
And it comes back in May?
Yes. Yeah. It
And we
is.
just had-
I think it's going to go to FOC on Monday. So get your pre-orders.
I've already got it in.
I'll be talking about it this weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
The B cover is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Amazing.
I love that
Michael
one. And
Dial,
Mirka did one of the other ones too.
Mm-hmm.
We just had the hardcover also come out for volume 1. I don't know what happened. My shop was supposed to get it for me, and
it was allocated.
Mm.
I'll have to talk to them. Why didn't they put the order in early enough?
Yeah. We should talk about allocation some.
Yeah.
So, we should talk about the Berserker foil allocation for the second print.
And then that's going to probably happen on the third print, possibly.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. The foil allocation we'll talk about first, which is the process of manufacturing the foil is very extensive and technically is difficult, and it requires an extra 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So when, I'll give you an example. So like Berserker #1, okay, we wanted to get it to market as soon as possible because it had been pushed back a few times, okay, but the foils arrived 2 weeks after the first issue. And the retailer said they didn't like that. Okay. Mm-hmm. So for Berserker #2, what we did was we advance solicited the foil with the regular covers, and that pushed Berserker #2 back on the release schedule 2 weeks. Makes sense. Retailers said they didn't like that. Okay.
You can't make them happy.
Well, hang on. I know why they're unhappy with both of those scenarios. I completely get it. We're doing the best we can. Okay. Well, it's understandable. The book's 2 weeks later, right? Yeah. So we're like, okay, for the second print, we're just going to pick a really big print number, and we're just going to pull the trigger and get the second prints in as fast as we can. Okay. And then we'll solicit orders, because the likelihood that they're going to order more than what we printed is very low. We've been a comic book publishing company for 15 years, and we've won Best Publisher a bunch. And guess what? We got orders 3 times bigger than the print run. So if your retailer ordered 15, they should have gotten 5.
Wow.
Now, what bothers me is that I see on Instagram, fans will say, my retailer ordered 15 and got 2. And probably what's happening is the retailer is fishing 2 out of the stack of 5 and is fulfilling orders in his shop and then taking the other 3 and selling them on eBay.
Hopefully not, but probably.
Hopefully not, right? But it's a sticky situation.
Yeah.
Right? So at the end of the day, I know we have excellent retailers and we love them a lot, and they're doing the best they can. And I wish that we could fill all those orders. It's just that nobody anticipated that we were going to get those orders. And the orders on the third print, I think people are anticipating that it's going to be allocated. And I think what people are doing is that if they would order 15, they're ordering, they're like, I'm going to be allocated and I really want 15. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to order 30 or I'm going to order 45. Right.
If it doesn't get allocated.
Got a lot coming your way.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But look, it's a good problem to have people excited. It's a good problem to have people supportive of the project. And at the end of the day, we'll figure out our way through it and do the best that we can. But the Wynd hardcover is very expensive. We printed that overseas, and
it's gorgeous, though.
Thank you. We had to pull the trigger on that on a cost basis to get it out. And get that out before, do the best that we can. And again, we got over-ordered on it, so it got allocated. So let's do more questions.
We'll see if Something Is Killing the Children hardback anytime soon for the first 15? By Christmas.
That is all I can say to you, man.
I could see that being a
it's a
beautiful
good
book.
answer. It's a good answer. One thing actually we've been talking about is that we've got all of these short boxes that you can put, that have Marvel stuff, DC stuff, but there's a Power Ranger box, but there's no Something's Killing the Children box.
Yeah, there should be
no
something.
Boom General.
No Boom with multiple properties on it. Is that something
No,
that
nothing to put my We Only Find Them's in.
It's a good idea. I will make a note of that.
Love to see it happen.
I mean, you've got people who right here would at least buy some.
Got a couple sales right here, and probably a couple more in the chat for sure.
Thank you.
I think we're getting close to the end of our time here, but I think one question maybe the whole chat would want to know is, and that's the one right there, Caroline. You guys
going to any cons this year? If any that have been announced, any that you're hoping that will happen?
The San Diego show is tough because of Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in particular, when we sat down, this is sort of difficult to see from a fan perspective. But when you run a company, what you do is you plan your finances yearly, right? So you we're working on the budget for next year, right now. And then you finalize it because the books have to come out in January, and you've got your costs and your projected sales and how many staff you're going to need and how many parking spaces and blah, 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 blah. And so we just were looking, when we were in last year and we were looking at conventions, we were just
when the pandemic was getting started.
Yeah.
Well, there was no news of a vaccine.
Yeah.
Even the situation, I was talking to a good buddy of mine this morning, Michael Allen Nelson, who created Hexed, which is the first series that Dan Mora drew. So if you have not read Hexed, you should read Hexed. But I was talking to Mike this morning, and he was like, well, we're at 3 million vaccines today, but, it'll probably take another year before all this sorts out. So the other thing I have to look at as a boss is not having clarity. Like, let's talk about New York Comic Con. I would have to pull the trigger now and commit people that I don't know will be safe to staff that show. And it's a little different than, probably in all likelihood, I'll figure out, I live in Los Angeles and San Diego Comic Con's in San Diego. It's a 2-hour drive. I'll probably have the luxury that Saturday to be like, maybe I'll pop by.
Yeah.
Right? But when you set up at a show, you got to buy a booth and you got to staff it and you got to ship materials and,
Yeah.
So I just don't feel comfortable, sort of putting people having to make those decisions now. I hope that it happens and it goes over well.
They're saying to come on up.
Good, go Amy.
They're having.
I appreciate the invite, Amy, but I think we're going to sit this year out. We're just going to let it all sort, and we're going to make sure that the staff is safe. Well, I'm sure we'll be doing a lot of video interactions, and there'll be opportunities for convention exclusives to sell through the web store and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
If you have one more minute, we've got a question about the free comic book day. Something's Killing the Children. If that's going
Joker's got great questions. I say it is an excellent question. Is it a one-shot or is it a spinoff series? A lot of people should be wondering that.
Yes.
I agree. I'll be serious about this. I can't believe that's the first time I've gotten that question.
Great question, Joker.
Since it got announced, nobody's asked that question. And that is a very important question.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, that we're going to melt your brain with Something Is Killing the Children in the next 6 months.
I'm very excited.
I mean, I'm not prepared, but I'm ready to have my brain melted.
I'm not prepared, but I am going to thoroughly enjoy it.
You're receptive, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be presented with the opportunity of brain melting.
Well, first of all, thank you for being receptive, and then second of all, get ready because it is going to get nuts. And so I think everybody's going to be excited about what the plans are for what we're doing with everything.
Do you know how long estimated, give or take? Are you trying to do a second 15-issue arc like the last one, or you're just going to see where it takes y'all?
Well, when it comes to the story, what I do is I just let James do what he wants to do.
Okay.
And it's also hard to get James to do things that he doesn't want to do. So, I'm just grateful that when I pick up the phone and I call him and I say, hey, let's do this crazy Wynd thing, that he agrees to it. So, and I will be forever thankful and grateful for that. And he's so talented, and he's really set the world on fire this past.
I have so many books by him. And I've not even been collecting a full year yet, and I've got so many books by him.
He's a lot.
Money well spent. He's a good dude, and he works really hard, and he does great stuff.
All thoroughly enjoyable. Yes, none of it's been bad. I don't think he's put out a bad comic yet.
No.
Well, and that's the philosophy when it comes to those subsequent arcs, is just let him do his thing. Mm-hmm. And Werther is so talented. Werther did the Erica Slaughter character design without prompting from James, is the one that gave her the neck gaiter and with the teeth on it. And Werther's.
When are we going to get those real masks?
We made them.
Not the perfect timing.
We made them twice. We made them once. Was we gave them away at the New York Comic Con panel. Oh, there, bam!
The gator.
Yeah, we need those tie ones like what she has.
Yeah,
right. But the gators are available at oh my gosh, Affinity Apparel.
It starts with an A. I think it might be.
But the proceeds go to charity. So please.
Oh, well, everybody go get one.
Go spend money.
And wear it to your comic shop. Nowhere else, because you may not be let in.
Affirmative, not affinity. Apologies.
Yeah. If you search affirmative clothing company and something's killing the children, you'll find it.
There we go. So there you go, Caroline. You're all hooked up. You're set.
I'm literally going to go buy one at the end of this.
I love it.
Yeah, I know we're getting at the end of our time here. Just wanted to say thank you for being here with us and answering questions from us, questions from the chat. The chat had awesome questions for you.
Yes.
You guys are on fire tonight.
And first of all, thank both of you for your support of Boom. I really appreciate it. The second thing I would say is I am woefully behind on putting up new videos on my YouTube channel. And so I apologize for that, but I've got interviews with creators, James Tynan, Al Ewing, Matt Kent, all sorts of great Boom creators on my channel. So search Ross Richie, maybe even Ross Richie James Tynan. And by the way, it is pronounced Tynan. It is not pronounced Tinian. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's actually the more you know. It's the first question I ask him in the interview. I say, how do you pronounce your name? Because I know that I was mispronouncing it. Yeah. And apparently it's like he's Irish and his ancestor misspelled it for some reason or mispronounced it. I've forgotten what the family lore is. But anyway, but if you put in James Tynan and Ross Richie, you can find my channel. And
I dropped the link for your channel in the chat. So everyone go subscribe and watch those videos with James Tynan. I always thought it was something like that because his Tiny Onion is the website. So
exactly.
All right. Now that helps confirm it.
Well, there we go.
And then I'm also on Instagram. So come find me on Instagram. As y'all know, I try to put up crazy, wacky things that are not just Boom propaganda, but hopefully some interesting, sort of like a lot of times with my head exploding, like what the hell is this? And then past that, I'm on Twitter and I'm on Facebook. So come find me and say hi. And
he's everywhere.
Everywhere. I just dropped the Instagram link. I don't have Twitter or Facebook readily available, but find him on there. It'll be the same way to find him. Just search Ross Richie.
RICHIE, no T, no EY. So
Absolutely.
that's a good way to remember it. All right. Well, thanks, y'all.
So
Everybody go pick up your boom box.
this week we have Berserker #1, second printing foil variant, Buffy the Vampire Slayer #24, Last Witch #4, Magic the Gathering #1, Origin 6 of 6,
Woo.
Seven Secrets #7,
Finally back.
Seven Secret Trade Paperback Volume 1. So go buy some Boom Comics tomorrow.
I really invite people, if they have not tried out Seven Secrets and they've been waiting for the trade, to pick that up. That book is really close to my heart. I just think Daniele
It's
and
such a thoroughly
Tom,
enjoyable series.
it's really fun. So it'll surprise you. And I think it'll blow people away. So check it out.
And the art is gorgeous. Same thing
Daniele's
when
a
we only
genius.
find them. The art is stunning.
Yeah, those guys are studio mates, by the way. Simone and Daniele are Italian studio mates for fun. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody in the
Thanks for
chat.
hanging out, everyone.
Thank you, everyone who's watching this on the replay.
Bye.